Good afternoon. I'm Mayor Pekau, and I'm here with Joel Van Essen, our Director of Public Works. And first, before giving Joel an opportunity to speak, I want to thank Joel and his entire team for all the great work they did this season for snow. The snow season was particularly challenging this year. We had a lot more than we've had in previous years, plus we had about 36 inches over 2 weeks with no snow melt, which I don't think I've ever seen before, which created a big problem with where we could put it. So thanks a lot, Joe. If you want to introduce yourself to the folks.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name's Joel Van Essen. I'm the Public Works Director here at Orland Park. And thank you, Mayor, for those kind words. I have a great team that support snow operations every year.
Great. So now we're moving into the spring. So it becomes pothole season and road repair season and curb season and all of those things. So why don't you tell the folks, let's start with our road program, which we expanded a couple of years ago because we were so far behind. About 40% of our roads were in poor condition 4 years ago. So we've expanded it the last 2 years, and I know that you manage it. So why don't you tell them a little bit about our road program?
Sure, Mayor. We have an increase of road work this summer. It's actually increased from $3 million to $7 million of work in the neighborhoods. We actually have 17 neighborhoods that we're going to be addressing this year because of the increase that the board and you approved. And this allows us to do several things in the neighborhoods. One is we actually do repair the roads. Some of them are full depth, so we'll go down to the base and rebuild up the roads. A few are overlays. But we also do sidewalk repairs involved with that include ADA improvements. We also do tree trimmings. We do curb repairs. And we also do, part of the road program is striping and also crack sealing. And that's all encompassing of the road program.
And you mentioned 17 neighborhoods, and people should realize that we have over 240 neighborhoods. And when we embarked, my first 2 years in office, we were unable to get an expansion of the road program, but the next 2 years, we were only supposed to do nine neighborhoods, and we did over 30 in those 2 years, and now we're doing 17. So we've advanced the road program a half a decade in just a couple of years. So that's very, very important. One of the things that we deal with a lot are potholes. And I get a lot of emails, Joel gets a lot of emails about potholes, but we have a much better system that's better than emailing me, better than emailing Joel. So maybe you could tell them a little bit about our 311 system.
Yes, Mayor. We actually started the OP 311 system to allow residents to then inform us about repairs throughout the village. One of the areas is potholes. So the 311 system is a web-based portal where people can log in once they create an account, and then they can send in a repair request to Public Works. When we receive it, then we'll assign it to one of our street staff and then create a work ticket for them to then repair the potholes. This is a great program for us to get information from residents on areas of concerns. We also receive phone calls as well. So the normal Public Works number, which is 403-6350, but we're really encouraging residents to use the 311 system as well.
The nice thing about this system is that it goes immediately into the work order system, whereas if they call in, whoever's answering the phone is putting it into the work order system. If they email you or me, we're passing it on to somebody who's then putting it into the system. So
yes.
if they go to 311, it goes directly into the system. So that's a big benefit.
Yes. Yes.
And it saves us a lot of time. So something we didn't talk about is our investment in our parks. And I know that we have a lot of capital programs in our parks. We previously used to do one park every 2 years, roughly. We have about 60 of them. Obviously, 120 years to get through our park system is way too slow, so we do it differently now. But I know that we've also expanded spending into our parks, so maybe you could tell them a little bit about some of the things that we're doing in our parks.
Yes, this is a great program that the mayor kicked off as well to try to increase the improvements of the parks. We have right now, last year we actually did 9 parks, and then plus 7 pavilions in the parks, so 16 parks. This year we have 9 parks and 4 pavilions, so we have 13 this year. We're actually reinvesting about $1.5 million into the parks. $1 million of it is with playgrounds and pavilions, another $500 into athletic fields. What we did was we tried to look at a holistic approach to kind of improve different parks throughout the village, not just one section of the village. So some of the parks received some improvements last year, about half of the park, and then of the playground, and then we're coming back to do the other half this year. And this will just allow some of that improvements to be kind of spread throughout the village.
That we do an analysis across all of our parks and all of our roads, and we grade them, grade what their conditions are, and then we fix them based on which ones are in most need. And it's not based on where they're located.
Right. Just like our road program that was assessed in 2018, our parks were assessed in 2019 by a third-party entity, and it allowed us to prioritize our parks, which ones needed, they looked at three criteria, safety, and security, which are together, condition, and accessibility. So based on those three criteria, they identified the parks that were in need of the most work, and then those are the parks we're addressing first. It's really not us choosing which parks, it's based on that study and assessment.
And some of what Joel talked about, we also did 17, I believe it was last year, we did 17 or 18 basketball courts and tennis courts we resurfaced as well as part of all of this. And we've been resurfacing our bike paths as part of this program as well. But I think it's important to note this third party that looked at this, there were probably 30-some parks that had something in poor condition. In over 5 years, we're getting all of that brought up to speed. And about 5 years later, we will do another study of our roads, so in 2023, and then in 2024, we'll do a study of our parks so we can keep this process going. It's a much more efficient use of our money. And the money that Joel talked about putting into parks, to put it in perspective, it used to be about $700,000 a year. So we've doubled that as well so that we can get caught up on our park conditions. So, Joel, any other projects that are going on that people should be aware of?
Well, if you think we do a lot of water and sewer projects, one of the things you'll see along Harlem, we just repainted one of the water towers. We have a condition assessment done for the water towers, and we're doing one tower per year, and so we'll be doing a second tower this year. We're also doing from a storm water management system, we're doing an assessment really this year of our ponds to see what we can do in the future to fix erosion and sediment and habitat and so forth. So when I say ponds, it's really a basin, a storm basin that we maintain. And we have over 500 basins in the village, which is a tremendous amount. We maintain about 170 of those because some are wet and some are dry, but we're addressing the wet ones as well to provide a good best practice management of our ponds, which actually was kicked off well over 10 years ago. In 2011 is when we kicked off that best practice for ponds.
And I know I've heard a little bit about this from a couple of areas where we're redoing their ponds where they had a lot of erosion, and they're very concerned about the native plants that we're putting in and all of that. And as I try to explain it, it's really three things. One is it's less costly. It's less costly both in terms of putting it in, but also in maintaining it. It reduces the amount of chemicals we have to put in the pond because it stops the runoff of all of the fertilizer and all of that goes into the pond that creates algae, right? And then the third thing is that it's also the law with MWRD. That's what we need to start doing is naturalizing these pond shores. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that and what the benefits over and above what I just talked about on naturalizing those ponds.
Well, I look at the basins and the ponds. The first critical thing about a pond is really it's protect the actual house near the pond. When the developments come in, they are changing the ecological system of rainwater as it goes to the creeks and then down to the rivers. When that development occurs, the water then moves faster to the system. So the basins actually serve as a protection to the home, but we also, it protects the creeks because then more water doesn't come into the creeks at a faster rate and deteriorate those creeks. And also protects the homes downstream because then they don't get flooded. If that creek can't hold all that water coming in faster, it actually protects the other residents. So the basins are valuable for us and we have to keep maintaining them.
Well, Joel, I want to thank you very much for taking the time today and to inform our residents of all the things that we do. And there's so much more that we do, but we don't have time to talk about. One thing I did forget to mention is Joel is a retired naval officer, so I want to thank you for your service as well. Thank you so much, Joel.
Thank you, Mayor.